You've probably seen this story in the news, and I'm going to cover it. There's a couple of MPs went across to Israel and they were denied entry. And of course, cue outrage for whatever reason that is. Then David Lammy steps in with his halfpenneth. Kemi Badnoch was asked about this and she gave the best take of the lot, I think. And of course, then there's other people start to appear from the shadows. So I think this is an interesting little journey, just so you can look at the nuts and bolts of where these stories come from, who the general influencers are, and how this is generally pieced together. And these news stories do tend to contain the real truth, but often that's glazed over in virtually every news report because, you get a 10 to 15 second question either on the news or on TV, and a lot of the issues are skirted over. And of course, in our liberal media, they don't want to really talk about this stuff. So, the MPs in question, so who we're looking at here. So, let's look at Yuan Yang. She's a Chinese woman who is part of the Labour Party, and apparently that's okay. You don't have to be born in the UK to be a member of Parliament, but there are a number of political positions that can be filled around the world if you're not from the country in question, and I'll leave it up to you to decide whether you think that's okay. But regardless of that, we've got Yuan Yang here, and she was born in the, I'm just trying to get this correct, I don't want to mispronounce it, Sichuan province, and she moved over here as a young lady, and then she kind of worked her way through the system. And she was previously a correspondent, a Europe-China correspondent for the Financial Times. So there you go, kind of a journalist. And she's risen through the ranks to eventually become an MP. So she's obviously worked hard to get there. Outside of that, we've got Abtissam Mohammed, and this lady here is a member of Parliament. She was born in the Yemen, and she's the second oldest of 8 children, as you can see here. One interesting point about Abtissam is that she ran her own legal practice in human rights and immigration, which was only closed down directly following her election last year. So there you go. So what we've got here is a human rights lawyer who specialises in immigration into the UK, becomes a Labour MP, a Yemen-born person, and of course in 2025 this is all perfectly normal, nothing to see here. So what happened is these two ladies have previously denigrated Israel, and they have talked about all of the normal things that people would say. They'd say, they're committing atrocities, they're doing this, they're doing that. And so these two ladies here have had quite big opinions on it. In the news, of course, it's said that they went across there from the UK Parliament. And what happened? They were stopped going in. Israel are the bad guys. And what they've done is they've kind of kicked them out of the country. Now, one thing that needs to be remembered in all of this controversy here is the fact that when people say that they're travelling from the UK Parliament, that wasn't actually true. And so when you're travelling from a parliament, what has to happen is you have to say that you're travelling from a certain parliament to another jurisdiction, and you have to plan it out. So you would say, hello Israel, I'm going to be coming across here and I want to have a look around this place or that place, and you organise the trip. But of course, upon arrival, there was 2 assistants on the trip, and we're not told who those assistants are. That looks a bit curious, but anyway, we'll move on quickly from that. So these ladies were accompanied by 2 assistants, and during questioning, they claimed that they were visiting Israel as part of an official parliamentary delegation. Okay, well, that sounds fine, except there's no evidence of that. So they hadn't informed anybody. So these ladies here were not travelling from the British Parliament. They were travelling as private citizens because the trip was not pre-arranged. So no politicians, as it says here, or government officials were aware they were coming. And then, of course, we get to an organisation called CABU. And so who are CABU? Well, they jumped up and they said, oh, hang on. We actually organised the trip. So hang on, so you're saying that this independent cross-party organisation, never heard of them before, the Council for Arab-British Understanding. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not really too concerned with Arab-British understanding. I'd like a British understanding company, but Arab-British understanding, I don't really care about that. Don't know if you do. But what this company here are now saying is, actually, we arranged it for them. Oh, hang on. But you're not an official member of the British Parliament. So after all this had gone down, then Cabu jumped up and said, we've arranged this for you, and we arranged this trip for them for a medical aid for Palestinians, or MAP. Right. So what this Arab British Understanding, CABU, a not-for-profit cross-party organisation whose mission is to work for a British Middle East policy that promotes conflict resolution, has said that they arranged the trip for British MPs and they were there to help Palestinians who were at war with Israel, when previously both of these MPs have badmouthed Israel to the press. So let's take this from the perspective of Israel. 2 British MPs appear. There's 2 assistants on the trip and they're not named. They claimed that they were visiting Israel as part of an official parliamentary delegation. I wonder who those assistants were. Anyway, Israel then said, no, you're not. There's no evidence of that, and so we're rejecting you, because also you've been badmouthing us as well. I think this is perfectly acceptable for Israel to do that. Number 1, they get the choice for who they want in their country. Number 2, if you've got people in your party telling you that they're from an official delegation, if you like, and they're lying, then really that's not going to wash very well. I don't know if you've ever been through any customs of any sort, but when you get there, if you lie about the reason that you're there, generally the countries will say, get yourself back to the UK, we don't want to speak to you. So the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, told Trevor Phillips that she wasn't surprised the MPs were detained. Neither am I, given the fact that they lied at customs to get into the country with these 2 assistants, and that these MPs here were both activists previous to this, immigration lawyers, human rights lawyers. They've already badmouthed Israel. Of course they weren't allowed in. And she said that she was very concerned about the rhetoric on the Middle East from Labour MPs and the 6 independents, and claimed there was a lot of repeating of misinformation, repeating of conspiracy theories during Prime Minister's questions. And she's 100% right on this topic. There's a lot of rubbish comes out from these 6 independents because all these people are Muslim activists at the end of the day who are only concerned with Gaza, and a lot of Labour MPs are on this Gaza bandwagon now because they have a lot of the Muslim vote in their constituents, so that's why they do it generally. I think a lot of these Labour MPs don't really care about any issues that are happening in Gaza, but like all MPs, they care about being voted in so they can stay in their particular roles. But I think what this is just a storm in a teacup that's been generated in order to create a big hullabaloo around these 2 MPs. And again, the Muslim vote in these 2 MPs' constituency will be solidified. Of course, what you have to bear in mind is that once that Muslim vote becomes high in a particular constituency, then an independent tends to get voted in and the Labour MP gets pushed out. But at the moment, the Labour MPs are playing a demographics game. And of course, then what we got is, after some, I would say, sensible chatter from Kemi Badenoch, then of course we get our precious UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy. So he's come out and criticised Kemi on this and saying, look, it's disgraceful that you're cheerleading another country for detaining and deporting 2 British MPs. David Lammy. This is activist mentality. He's the UK Foreign Secretary. This is the gentleman that's in charge of our relations with the world, and he's talking as if he's, the head of some student union somewhere. As Miss Badenoch said, unlike China, Israel is our ally and a democracy. That's correct. So what Lammy had pointed out was, do you say the same about Tory MPs banned from China? Of course not. As Miss Badenoch said, unlike China, Israel is our ally and a democracy. And a good foreign secretary would be able to make that distinction. You know, all of this stuff around this, and, you know, this Richard Fuller, one of Badenoch's ministers, appeared to contradict her. Any member of parliament who goes on an official trip should be, I would think, welcomed in any country. Well, there's been plenty of times that I remember MPs standing up in the Houses of Parliament asking for Donald Trump to be not allowed into the country. I think that was they were quite vocal in that. There's been other MPs from Europe, like Geert Wilders, who was banned from coming into the country because MPs didn't like what he was saying. So this happens all the time. If you've got an MP coming from a foreign country into your country, and for whatever reason that country doesn't want them, then they say no, and that's all there is to it, really. I think what this goes to show is, first of all, the depth of activist MPs in Parliament. You've got two MPs here who are more concerned, again, with the internationalist mindset. You know, Labour, they're not concerned with what's happening in their own constituency. These people are elected from being activists, and they don't understand the change from activism to Member of Parliament. So what do? They think the best use of their time is to fly to Israel on the taxpayers' pound, if you like, and go and have a walk around Gaza and, you know, have a few cuddles with people over there. Meanwhile, the people in their constituencies are experiencing extremely hard times economically, but they're not representing them when they're over there, are they? And then, of course, you've got David Lammy, who comes out and wants to score points. The only person talking any sense here is Kemi Badenoch, who says, well, they can do what they like because it's their country. And that's right. That's correct. That's called being a sovereign country. But of course, MPs who are internationalist, who are globalist, who don't understand the way that a sovereign nation state goes on, people like David Lammy, people like these two MPs, they think they live in a global world. But I think what Donald Trump is, he's just smashed that notion. And at some point, you know, it does come to mind that this war in Gaza is going to come to an end. And I wonder what's going to be happening after that happens. I wonder what's going to happen. It's very, very strange, isn't it? This whole thing. And of course, you've got the Council for Arab-British Understanding rearing its head in league with, it would seem, the movement in Palestine and British activist MPs, and you start to see the tendrils that go out, and these are the ones that are just seen. These are the seen tendrils. Never mind the ones that go into the murky darkness of wherever that is. And this just goes to show the state of the MPs in our country who don't care about their own constituents and are far too concerned with what's happening thousands and thousands of miles away. It's just another disgusting indictment of where we are as a country. Anyway, thanks very much for your time.